There you go.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What is up, everyone? This is Nate coming to you live from the Plays Network. This is Sportscorner with Ray Gallo and myself. How are both of you doing?
I'm doing good, Nate. How you doing?
Oh, I'm
doing good, Nate. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing really, really well. We got a new mini-man today, but anyway, I'm getting off topic. Let's go to our ads and start off with some Suzanne Paparazzi jewelry.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us, from all of us here at the ASAP Network.
And now, Misty Meadows. All right, I just want to remind everybody that if you're out there in the comment section and you want to win a free t-shirt, all you have to do is like the show, comment the show, and be engaged in the show. Towards the end of the month, the person that went towards the end of the month, we tally up all the comments, and the person that gets the most comments wins a free t-shirt. But say for a second you're driving, you can't exactly watch the show right there at the moment. That's totally fine. You want to win it, you just want to get a t-shirt, just all you have to do is just message one of us. Message me, message Greg, message Ray, message anybody that's maybe on the network, but that is not on the show. And we'll get you towards the right direction. Message the size as well, and it's $14.99 plus shipping and handling. So shout out to the guys over there in Sports Minute, because they kind of gave me this idea. Today's show is going to be an open forum. Basically, any topic that comes up to our mind. And I'm going to go first here. And talk a little bit of baseball. Arizona Diamondbacks versus the Atlanta Braves. There was a no-hitter. It went down only because it was a 7 innings. Why? Like, how does that not count as a no-hitter? Ray, since you're an Atlanta Braves fan, and I get that your team lost, I want to know how you feel about this.
Well, if you look at it, Major League Baseball game goes 9 innings. This one, 7 innings. And now if it was canceled by a rain delay or something like that, we'll officially go down in the book as a game. Well, you got to look at it this way, too. He only pitched 7 innings, so you can have 2 innings there. But then again, Major League Baseball is changing everything around. They're trying this new little double hitter thing. You're only going to play 7 innings both games. Trying to time the game down a little bit here. To me, if the game is final, don't matter how many innings if you went across the 5th, 6 inning to mandatory innings, that's officially a game. So it should have gone down as a no hitter. So, but Major League's using that criteria rules here, saying it's not a no hitter because it didn't go the full 9 innings.
And although I understand your point about the rain delay, I just think that because they played 7 innings instead of 9, because it was a doubleheader game and they played the full game, even though it was 7 innings, they still played the full game. I think that if you're having that 7-inning doubleheader rule, you should have the no-hitter rule being played and play for what doesn't matter what type of game it is. Unless if it was a rain delay and it ends early, I get that. But doesn't matter what type of game it is, I think it should be considered a no-hitter. But Greg, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I wrote a little bit on this today on a Sports Illustrated site. My personal take is if this is the avenue that baseball wants to go into, if these are the rules that they're coming up with, and they've come up with a lot of crazy rules in the last couple of years regarding extra innings and all kinds of other things. If this is the rule for double headers, is that all the games are going to be limited to 7 innings, and that's
Technical.
Okay, we're having technical difficulties here. But Ray, we'll go right into the next topic. Since this is anything that you found like within this last week that you wanted to talk about, or anything else coming up this week is that you want to talk about in particular?
Well, we got the NFL draft coming up on Thursday, the 29th of April. I will be taking partake in that. I won't be on the Thursday night full count due to the fact that I will be at a draft party at the TIA Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida, where they are trying to work out justifications here. They're trying to get one or two things. If the NFL allowed them to forego the commissioner first pick and let us do it inside the stadium, that's one revenue. The other revenue is they're talking about flying in Trevor Lawrence from Georgia in by helicopter before the night's in to address everybody at the TIA Stadium. But they got to get some justifications how they can get that passed by the airport here, landing inside the stadium at the 50-yard line. So that's the big take coming up right now in Jacksonville. They're trying to one of two ways: either let us announce the first pick inside the stadium before go the commissioner, letting the commissioner do the first pick, and let the owner or let either the owner or the head coach Urban Meyer's say the pick for the first round. If they don't go that route, then the next plan is trying to get him in through helicopter landing on the 50-yard line here at TIA Bank to address the Jacksonville fans.
So I guess my question with that is, if they go with the route about Urban Meyer, do you think that somebody that's either a coach or an ownership team should announce the draft picks, not just with the number 1 overall pick, but throughout the draft instead of the commissioner of the NFL?
To me, I think make it more personal. I think you should, if the team is holding like a big draft party at the stadium or somewhere like that, the team headquarters, I think you should let the team pick their own draft. Let the team say it. But then again, it's always been the commissioners and doing the first round, and he forgoes the second round over. But to me, this is a big historic moment for Jacksonville. Besides Mark Brunell, this is really going to be a franchise quarterback talk here. So you got to look at it this way here. If you're breaking it down, you want the Jacksonville fans to be involved, because right now when Urban Meyer came and then announced the first pick, the season tickets have sold out. They have sold out a lot of season tickets already. That was sold out right after Urban Meyer was announced. Maybe like an hour after he was announced, all the season tickets started building up the thing. So the allotted season tickets for the Jacksonville Jaguars is gone. There's no more allotted season tickets right now here in Jacksonville because of the big news of Trevor Lawrence coming and Urban Meyer. So they, to get that fan base really riled up, I think they should allow them to say the first pick inside. But then again, a lot of people around here wants to say if they don't go that, they would rather have Trevor Lawrence physically inside the stadium, dressing the Jaguars fans, because right now they only got allowing 6,000 people in the stadium, and the first pick went to the season ticket owners. So the season ticket owners, we maybe have like 300 or 400 left for the general admissions for everybody else. But to me, I think the NFL should let the owners in their fan base pick their players. I mean, it's just right, because we're fans. All of us can't go to one place to get into the NFL draft. I mean, we'd be part of the NFL draft, and I think they should change that around. The commissioner is commissioner. He could do anything, but the first pick is ours. It's the fans. I mean, that's what the draft's for. Is for the fans and the teams drafting their players.
Sorry here. I'm just doing a couple of shares. Now, Greg, I'll ask you the same question that I asked Ray. Do you think that each of whether either the coaching staff or the ownership should ask announce the pick for the first round for head on instead of just the number one overall, or instead of second, third, or fourth round, just like what Ray mentioned earlier? Do you think it should be going throughout the whole draft where like an ownership member announces it?
You mean instead of like Roger Goodell coming out with
instead of Roger Goodell, like have maybe Urban Meyer announce the pick for the Jaguars?
Well, I'd love to see that. I know that it's been customary for quite some time for the commissioner to come out and address the picks, at least for the first round or two, and then after that, on day two and the final day, you got team reps or former players or a linebackers coach or somebody coming out, or they might have like a fan or someone selected by the fan base or from the organization comes and represents the team and gives their selection. I think it'd be really cool to have a top dog in the organization instead of seeing Roger Goodell. But I know that's kind of been the standard. He likes to go out there. They like to boo him and everything. That's kind of been their trademark for the past several years that he's been out there. He comes out and announces each and every single pick, at least for the first round or two. But yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool if like a Urban Meyer or a general manager or somebody from each team, or at least for the first 10 picks or so, because those are going to be the most watched picks usually in the draft, is like the first 10 or 15 picks, because everybody's kind of excited to see if they're going to land this, hot new quarterback or top lineman or something. So I don't know. I think that give a lot back to the fans if somebody else besides Roger Goodell got involved with each pick in the first round. I think it'd be a really nice change to see during the draft.
Yeah. As for me, I think I kind of like that. Because it's not, because Roger instead of like Roger Goodell announcing the picks, Urban Meyer can come out and say, hey, we as a Jacksonville Jaguars organization decided to draft Trevor Lawrence. And then the Jets as such and such, 49ers as such and such, heading on.
I just think that the only thing that would kind of mess that up is that we all know that on the first day, the first round, there's a lot of trades and stuff. And so Roger Goodell always comes out and announces, who's trading and who's picking in what spot and everything. So he always makes those announcements before the next pick or so, to let everybody be aware that if, say the Chiefs lost their pick and traded it to the Falcons or something like that, he wants the fans and the people in the stands and on TV to know what's going on. So if you did that and you had someone that represented the team, they would have to come out, and then Roger Goodell or somebody would have to make these on the fly, announcements all the time. So I think it'd take a lot of time, in between picks to have to make these announcements and then get the next person on board from the next team. So I don't know. It'd probably be a lengthy process because, especially during this draft, I see about 3 or 4 trades at least, coming up.
Yeah, in the first round, I see two. I see one between the 17th, not 17th, between the 7th and the 15th overall picks. I see them being the swap between the Lions and the New England Patriots. And then I also see one where the Las Vegas Raiders trade out of the first round, and Houston takes that spot.
So that'd be interesting to see what you're talking about there. But I also see the Chicago Bears trying to trade with the Atlanta Falcons at number 4 spot to get a quarterback. And the rumor has been around that they want Justin Fields, and they felt like that they can get up in number 4. But then again, they're also looking at Mark Jones too. So if the 49ers don't slop up a quarterback, I have a feeling that the 49ers are probably going to end up going with Kyle Pitts at the number 3 spot. Because there have been talks that they might just keep Jimmy Garoppolo and build weapons around him. And I think Kyle Pitts will be a good pickup for the 49ers. And his versatility of can lining up, but he's not a good blocker in the sense, but he can put a lot of mismatch on him for the 49ers. And the other rumor was coming out was Chicago moving up to either get Mark Jones or Justin Fields at the number 4 spot. So you got a lot of moving parts coming up here. It's going to be an interesting draft. As the NFL draft it's always been a surprise. We don't know what team is going to make the trade before even. I have seen they come on the air and say they have announced some trades, before they even came on the air. So I mean, you can have a trade right before they come on air. A lot of moving parts, and same thing with New England. New England's trying to get a quarterback too. I mean, yeah, they signed Cam Newton, but like I said in other shows, that Cam Newton's probably just going to be a specialist from the 20-yard to the end zone. I mean, I don't see him going to be at that to be a full-time quarterback. So they need to go get a quarterback at that spot. And also another name, Trey Lance has been, in that 15 to 16 spot too for the New England Patriots. So
I do see Trey Lance going to New England Patriots, but also remember I said that I think they're going to trade up and get Trey Lance at 7.
Why are you going to trade up and get him up to the 7? Because there's nobody really in that first top 7 after you get past the 49ers and Atlanta after that first 4 picks. Ain't nobody else going to be looking for quarterbacks. So you really don't need to trade up because Trey Lance is going to fall to him wherever the New England's picking at.
Yeah. I can see that. So Greg, since Ray had his topic that he wanted to talk about for open forum, and I had mine that I wanted to talk about for open forum. Now we'll go with you, and then we'll go back with me. For your open forum topic, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about. Do you guys think that some of the off the radar quarterbacks are going to be highly sought after in the 2nd or 3rd round, like Davis Mills or Kyle Trask? Do you think that some teams are going to be kind of all in? You think that the Bears may go after a cornerback or somebody, and then hope to get a Davis Mills or somebody, a good quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round, or what do you think?
Looking at my mock draft, I think Kyle Trask. I can see Kyle Trask maybe going 2nd round instead of 3rd. Maybe towards a I would say maybe a team like New England if they don't draft one in the 1st round, like they haven't done in a while. I would see maybe a team like Washington might go after a quarterback and say second, third, or fourth round.
Here's another one. Do you guys see? I've heard a lot of talk lately of Aaron Judge maybe possibly getting traded at some point this season. Do you think that the Yankees are ready to unload Aaron Judge?
Yes, I can see that. That's only because he gets hurt a lot. But again, it's the Yankees we're talking about, and a lot of people get hurt a lot.
Yep. Let's see here.
Ray, what are your thoughts on the last two topics?
Well, like I said, Aaron Judge, he does get injured a lot. I think if the Yankees keep losing like they're doing and they stay in that last place spot, they're going to unfloat some of these guys so they can get their contract and rebuild again. So you're looking at about, his salary is north of $10 million for the Yankees. So, I mean, a year of arbitration and stuff like that. So I think you're going to see Aaron Judge probably it won't happen until probably June or after the All-Star break. That's when you're going to tell where the Yankees are going to be, if the Yankees are going to make the playoffs. Yeah, and depends on if Judge gets hurt too. That's gonna be another thing. If Judge gets hurt, then they're not gonna be able to trade him because he's injured. Mm-hmm. For the quarterbacks, I do see Kyle Trask probably going to the Washington football team. Probably the number 51 pick. I think it'd be a best bet for him. He'd be a good fit for the Washington football team. Other quarterbacks will probably drop a little bit into the 5th or 6th round. But then again, you got to look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady felt he was a 6th round draft pick. And look what he did. Sometimes you can find a gem of a quarterback in the late rounds. But teams that really, really need quarterbacks like the Jacksonville Jaguars, the New York Jets, San Francisco, and Atlanta, because Ryan is getting older, and so they're going after the big time quarterbacks. But you get to off the rail. I like I've watched Kyle Trask since I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm only maybe an hour and a half from Gainesville, so we get a lot of Florida games here in Jacksonville. And I mean, Kyle Trask can play. He's come out of high school. Him and Kyler Murray was on the same team, so you really didn't have a sense of a big recruit as Kyle Trask was. And then he stayed his time in Florida. And, he played behind quarterbacks, and when he got his break, he did pretty good. I mean, you can't expect a young man who's playing the SEC, one of the toughest conference in college football, to come out and be a second round pick. I mean, he'd be a great second round pick for the Washington football team when they actually need it. So you just gotta break it down to them and see how these quarterbacks gonna adjust between after you get out of the first round. I mean, to me, I think Kyle Trask probably have a better upswing, a better potential than the guy from North Dakota State, Trey Lance. So I mean, I wouldn't surprise if you see Kyle Trask go in the first round.
Yeah, I can see that, but more like a late first round draft pick than a mid or early first round. I would see more like maybe I wouldn't see higher than 25, to be honest.
Well, you never know. He could go to New England.
Yeah. All right. I guess the next topic that that I wanted to discuss for open forum. We'll go around and we'll start with Greg. NFL draft is coming up. We'll go Broncos, and then Jaguars, and then your team, which was
the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts. What do you think was the biggest draft bust of all time? We'll go with Greg first.
For my team or of all time, just in general?
Of all time, we'll go the Broncos first, then the Jaguars, and then the Colts for you.
Okay. Well, I think that if you're gonna go based off of the biggest bust of all time, it's probably got to be Jamarcus Russell.
For Denver?
No, not for Denver. I'm talking about like
Oh.
all time.
Oh,
I think
okay.
the biggest draft bust for all time for Denver. That's a tough one. I don't know. I want to throw in Jay Cutler just because he just didn't seem to really. I don't know. He just kind of had this nonchalant attitude, like he just didn't care to be there. I mean, I know that he was a capable quarterback, but I just don't think that he was a very good fit in Denver with Shanahan and everything that they were trying to do. I mean, he played a little bit better when he went to the Bears, but he was one of those guys that put up decent numbers sometimes. But I don't know. He was just a hard player to have on a team because he just didn't seem to have a winning mentality a lot of times. So I'd probably put Jay Cutler in there.
Okay. What about for Jacksonville?
Jacksonville has got to be Julian Blackmon, the wide receiver. And I say this because he was one of my favorite players in college. I mean, he had blazing speed. He was just a phenomenal outside deep ball threat, wide receiver threat, and he had all the potential in the world, but he just couldn't stay on the field. He had a lot of off-field issues. He had some substance abuse problems and everything. And so I hate to call him a bust because he had so much potential, but he had so much other baggage and other things going on. It really didn't have anything to do with how well he played on the field, because he did pretty good when he was out there, but he was never out there for very long. He was just one of those players that sadly just couldn't quite stay in the game. He just had too many things going on. I mean, he had the size, he had he had the build, he had the talent, he had the speed, but yeah, it was just kind of a wasted pick. They drafted him fairly early, and he just had too many issues and never could really get very much consistent play after his first season.
All right, we'll go with 3 on this one next. What do you think was the biggest draft bust for the Colts history, and then the Broncos history, and then the Jaguars history?
All right, for the Colts history, Jason Whitlock. He said Jason Whitlock, the friend sucked as a quarterback. Jeff George. That's what they have. Jeff George is a big bust. I mean, he had high hopes. He had a big ceiling. I could tell you where I was, sitting there when he got drafted, and they were raving on that he was going to be one of these great quarterbacks, trying to justify him all the way up to John Elway to Joe Montana. I mean, I think he had a big ceiling on him. I think it was. You can't make it really a big bust for him. A play for it. I think he had a lot of expectation. He couldn't live up to it. So to me, I think that's the biggest bust in Indianapolis Colts history. For the Broncos, defensive tackle Ted Gregory, 26th pick in 1988. And the story behind that, Reeves thought he was going to be couldn't believe how much shorter than a 6'1". The college had him listed at 6'2", 6'3", and he comes in at 5'11". When he walked in, they put it on they put him on a thing where Reeves on tapes he looked much bigger, but when he came in, Dan Reeves he was looking down at him. And I can remember seeing the first picture when he came in and shaking his hand. Dan Reeves is much taller, and this guy's much shorter and stout. So I mean, he turned out to be why he turned out to be a bust was because he had a lot of knee injury in training camps and stuff like that. And then they traded him to New Orleans. prior to the start of his rookie season. So I mean, he came to the camp all injured up and stuff like that. And when Dan Reeves found him shorter, they put the draft trade in, and New Orleans picked him up. So that to me was a big bust because I mean he was a good defensive tackle, but then the tallness of him, it wasn't up to Reed's liking. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to tell you this. Jacksonville Jaguars had a lot of busts, but this guy was the top of the cake. Blaine Gabbert, quarterback out of Missouri.
Even Blake Bortles was better.
This guy, I'm going to tell you what. I've been to every training camp when Blaine Gabbert got here. I went to every training camp practice. This guy, he was good on the practice field, but he couldn't translate what he did on the practice field into game field because he got that one hit. First game of the season, got sacked, made him shell shocked for the rest of the year, rest of his career. This guy could not take a hit. I mean, he was looking back at referees and saying, "Hey, and when he got blown up in that first sack, that down for him. He just never could recover. So Blaine Gabbert was my Jacksonville all time, but there've been a lot of them here in Jacksonville. You got Derek Harvey, the defensive end out of Florida, who was a great college player, couldn't translate into the pros. But the worst one after Blaine Gabbert will be Matt Jones, the wide receiver out of Arkansas. This guy came here and got all doped up. He couldn't keep out the drugs. Yeah, he would have had a good career if he could have stayed out of the cocaine. So,
personally for me, I'm going to start off with Jacksonville first. I'm not going to go quarterback, even though they have probably the worst quarterbacks. They do have not a very good slate of quarterbacks in their history. I know that they're new, but still, I got to go wide receiver, Justin Blackmon.
Yep.
I mean, okay, Justin Blackmon, he to talk about Justin Blackmon, I mean, you're putting him on a team that had a lot of Hall of Fame buzz from Justin Blackmon, Derek Harvey, Blaine Gabbert, Luke Jokel, Blake Bortles, Dante Flower. You get the point. But this guy in the 2012 draft was selected at number 5. A man who was arrested from DUI before he played his first game, and then was plagued by injuries, arrests, and suspensions with 3 different seasons in the Jacksonville Jaguars. He caught 5 touchdown passes as a rookie. 5. But those are his only 5 touchdown passes in his career. Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with a quarterback here. I'm going to go Jeff George. Going back in the 90s for the Colts, Jeff George was selected year 1990, number 1 overall. But while Aitman, Corriott, and Alberts made less of an impact than George and failed at number 1 overall selection, the all-important quarterback position can't be trumped. It's not just that. It also that Indianapolis Colts traded Chris Hinton, Andre Rison, and a 5th-round pick, and a 1st-round pick in 1991 just to move up and take him. I get it that there's guys out there for the Colts that had less success, But why did you trade up for a guy just to get basically nothing? During his career, he went 14-30, 35, and 49 starts with 4 seasons in Indianapolis, let alone a player who caused trouble off the field and didn't report to training camp ahead of his final season there. So now I'm going to go with my team. And I'm going to go for the Broncos. I know it was already taken, but I'll still use this pick anyways. Ted Gregory. He was shorter than what they said he was in the draft. As a defensive tackle, he was shorter than what they said he was in the draft. He also suffered a lot of knee injuries, and then was eventually traded to the New Orleans Saints for Sean Knight. The other one I would have argued is pretty much any quarterback that Denver has drafted in their franchise history, because not one quarterback that we have drafted, we have taken to the Super Bowl. I get it. John Elway played with us as a rookie, but we didn't draft him. So we do have about 12 more minutes left.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
You brought up Justin Blackman. All right, I'll give you a few things about Justin Blackman. I was on there when he got drafted. I end up in the seat beside this guy, and on the way from Atlanta to Jacksonville. The guy was nice. I mean, personally, he was a nice guy. I mean, he didn't complain about anybody asking for his autograph, taking pictures coming off the plane. The guy wasn't a bust on the football field as he was off the football field. Because on the football field, he had a promised career. And then I believe he would have had a good career if he could have stayed out of trouble off the field. His off the field issues cost him to be the actual bust here in Jacksonville, because if he would have took his production that he was doing before he got arrested for DUI, all this trouble stuff and drugs and stuff like that, he couldn't keep himself out of trouble. But this guy is one of the most, he will help up anybody off the field. I mean, he's a nice guy. His character was good, but his character and his nightlife character is not good, because he kept getting in trouble with DUIs, drugs. He would have had a promising career. And I think Blake Bortles would have been a better quarterback if he would have been around when Blake Bortles got here, because he could have done, he did a lot of stuff with Jacksonville. He could have, be a speed guy. He could be a possession guy. This guy was on the verge after his rookie year. If he didn't get in trouble, he was on the verge of becoming one of the great wide receivers in NFL history. But for him becoming a bust, it's his off the field issues that cost him his football career.
Yeah, I agree. It had nothing to do with his talent on the field. He just couldn't stay on the field because he had too many other things going on outside of football that was unfortunately cost him his career and his contract with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Which is why, as a Broncos fan, Chad Kelly kind of got in the same kind of trouble, so I didn't really like him. Although Chad Kelly has only had one play start for the Denver Broncos, and that happened to be I'm forgetting the name of the play, but he took a knee. So, Ray, we'll go with you on this one. Any other topics you want to bring up for this open forum?
Well, let's jump into college basketball real quick. You know, Roy Williams retired at beginning of the month. Then they brought in Hubert Davis, which I like the pick, keeping him in the Carolina family. Now in college basketball, when do we talked about Coach K retiring? Hopefully, he probably gonna retire soon, maybe, or he's just gonna keep going till till he's dead. Until he dies on the basketball court. But what do you think? Because you got the Carolina program, Duke, Kansas, and Kentucky, all blue, called the blue program of the college basketball predominant. Do you think since Roy Williams left now, you think Carolina's going to either go down or are they going to still be at the same level?
Well, I'm a Tar Heel fan, and I think that it was an excellent hire for them to go with Hubert Davis. I mean, he's pretty much been groomed for this position for years. He was Roy Williams' right-hand man. He did a lot of recruiting. He was the head recruiter. Was the head coach of the junior varsity team. Did a lot of coaching there. On their junior varsity team, and then he was Roy Williams' right-hand man for like 9 seasons. And he's got professional hoops pedigree. He played over a decade in the NBA. Was a pretty solid player, not an outstanding NBA player, but he was a great team guy, great team player. Had a lot of great skills. I think that he'll be able to identify with the younger players coming in. He still has great recruiting skills. And I think that he's got the mentality and the approach, to be a very successful coach. I mean, he was brought on by one of the best coaches ever to ever coach the game, by Roy Williams. He's learned a lot from Roy Williams, and Hubert Davis. He's a guy with a lot of character and everything, and I think that he can instill a lot of those characteristics, those personal characteristics, and it'll translate onto the court. I think that it's been a strange last couple seasons for North Carolina. It's been a down couple years. They did make the tournament this last season, but the season before was just absolutely terrible, with Cole Anthony getting hurt and some other key players missing time. So I think that Hubert Davis is going to get on the right track here, and he's promoted a lot of people within the Carolina family to be, to still be on his coaching staff. He still has Sean May. He's got some other coaches that were elsewhere that are coming on to join him on the bench that were part of the Carolina family. So I think it's going to be a pretty tight-knit group, and he's putting together a pretty good staff. And I think they're going to be getting some really good recruits here in the next couple of years. So I think that they're going to be on their way up, after a couple seasons under Hubert Davis.
Yeah, I can agree with you, but let me take it a little step further about Hubert Davis. Hubert Davis only wanted to play with one college. That was University of North Carolina. Dean Smith him and Roy Williams went to a recruiting trip up in Washington, D.C., outside of Washington, D.C. area to Davis. Just to do the legacy Carolina family, because he's the nephew of Walter Davis, one of the Carolina greats. So, Dean Smith told him, say, hey, look, why don't you go play for George Washington, because it was coached by a former North Carolina player. You'll get more playing time. Well, Hubert Davis came back to him and says, no, you didn't. How I can't play Division I basketball? You didn't give me a shot. You didn't give me a try. So Dean left, and a couple of days after he made a phone call and say, I'm going to give you that shot. So I think his pedigree started young. Coming there, he had to work for his craft. He made him into an NBA player. Played 12 years. He's a journeyman in the NBA. I think the pedigree, I think that's going to bring in the Carolina way. But also, I think the way he surrounded himself with his coaching staff, all former North Carolina players from different ages, from Dean Smith all the way to Bill Guthridge, all the way to Roy Williams, and now his coaching staff. And I think there's a good nucleus of legacy and family in there, and getting into recruits. But the one thing I'm a little bit worried, he doesn't have. He has the JV coach, and I understand Carolina's the only team with a JV team left in college basketball. It used to be the freshman team. Basically, that's why they came up with the JV team. So he has coaching there, but he was going up against junior colleges, stuff like that. But I think he was groomed by Roy Williams brought him there for a reason. He wouldn't leave the NBA, ESPN if Roy Williams didn't want to bring him back into the fold of him becoming the head coach. And I think we know we're going to get at least 20 years out of him, hopefully, if nothing goes between that. He's 50 years old. He's going to get at least 20 years. So, and I've seen the report. Now we need to Carolina's the only team in the last 8 decades that have been to a Final Four in the last 8 decades. Now, we know that Matt Doherty came in and broke the streak of 27 straight NCAA thing when he took over the team. So now my question is, the question to you, Nate, is do you think since Roy Williams left, do you think that is now going to see the deterioration of all these college coaches like the older coaches like Daheim and Mike Krzyzewski to start retiring in the next 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is about time for those older coaches to hang up the cleats. Whether or not they will, I think they probably will in the next 3 or 4 years. Only because seeing what happened with them. I think they will only because of motivation.
Okay.
All right, so it is. We do have we'll end it a little bit early, but I do want to talk one last and final thing. I wanted to talk actually a little bit. We're getting close to that point. With NHL, do you have any playoff predictions? We'll go with Greg first.
Well, Nate, here's your bright light, buddy. McKinnon is going to be holding the Stanley Cup trophy up over his head when it's all said and done. I've been talking about it on What the Puck for a month now. We haven't done the What the Puck show for a couple weeks. But I've been talking about the Avalanche when they were, their potential when they weren't playing as great as I thought that they should. Well, now everything's clicking. They made some good trades, picked up some more pieces, and I think they're on the road. I think they're playing the best hockey, but then look out for Ray's Hurricanes too, because I think it's going to be a pretty good matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we're looking at for the finals. So I know that I've been high on the Maple Leafs for quite some time, but I don't know exactly how well it's going to pan out when they start seeing some of these American teams, because the Golden Knights, Hurricanes, the Lightning, my Islanders, and of course the Avalanche are all looking pretty solid. So, but I think that when it's all said and done, it's going to be between the Hurricanes and the Avalanche for the Stanley Cup.
I did give a prediction, which I found out, and I sent as soon as I found that out, I sent a text to the What the Puck group chat. That I gave a prediction a few weeks back that the Colorado Avalanche were going to play the New York Islanders in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But then I found out that physically cannot happen because the winner of the Western bracket will face off the winner of the Eastern bracket. And then the winner of that will face off the winner of the Northern or Central. But if I had to give
I hate to break it to Brandon Herrera, but the Wild, they're just a little bit too young, and they're riding on the coattails of a phenomenal rookie season by Kaprizov right now. But they're an up-and-coming team, but not this year, Brandon.
Hey, I will say this, though. And I'm letting the math speak. They clinched playoff berth the other day. They're in.
Yeah.
So are the Colorado Avalanche, and so are the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
So is the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, so is the Carolina Hurricanes too. I was referring to the West.
Yeah. That's all right. I'll be the only Discovery Central. I'll stand my ground. I'll take my Hurricanes.
All right. I guess we'll have to close this off. Any final comments before we get this close?
Well, we got the NFL draft coming up on the 29th of April. I'll be in TIA Stadium. Sorry, guys. I won't be here for the Thursday night full count. I had the plans, getting there. So I'll give y'all some inside scoops on some of the stuff that happens at the thing on Monday, on next Monday. So I'll be there. And then, so, you got to understand the Carolina Hurricanes, man. I'll be the only one. Y'all can stay in the West or whatever. I'll be the only one taking my Hurricanes and going to the Stanley Cup and let them host the Stanley Cup trophy, So, I'm not giving up on my Hurricanes right now. So I think the Hurricanes, because, they're 5-1-4. They have 5 wins, 1 loss, and 4 ties in the last 10 games.
All right. As for me, I just wanted to give a little bit of a hot take, talking playoffs, but talking NBA. I hate to say this. But if we play Golden State, return to Denver, I think we might lose. Yeah, I knew you were gonna shake your head. But what
losing Murray for the season is an absolute death blow. They were looking really good, and then he just went out and. Picking up Aaron Gordon was huge, but with those 3 out there, it's just a huge blow when you lose, the captain of your team like that this late in the season.
True, but ever since the trade deadline, we have lost once. That was not a Golden State Warrior game.
But why do you think they're gonna lose the series? You still got somebody that they can't cover. You still got your big center who plays the point center, True. If you want to call it. So who's gonna guard him? He can get people in foul trouble like it ain't nothing. So you still got an advantage right there. Yeah, with Murray out, it's gonna hurt a little bit, but like you said, the last 10 games, Denver's 7-3. Warriors, last 10 games, they're also 7-3. So you got to look at it here. If you play them, if you get a home court advantage, Golden State at home is 19-10. Denver at home is 21-10. But on the road, they're 18-11. Golden State is 12-20 on the road. So
yeah, I think they'll be able to beat Golden State. I think that they can in the first round. So
I don't think they're going to play Golden State in the first round. I see Denver playing the Lakers round 1, but I either see Denver playing the Lakers or Denver playing Dallas.
Well, the scenario that's on the NBA.com for the Denver Nuggets right now, if the season ends right now today, y'all would be playing the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah. Which right now
be the 4 and 5 seed.
Yeah. I can either see I see us more moving up than moving down because we are 4 games ahead over the Lakers and we're 3 games underneath the Clippers. So I see us moving up more than I see us moving down.
Yep. I just hope my Hornets can hang on and play in the play-in game or just happily get up into the 6th seed. I'd be happy right there.
Yeah.
But you got Melo Balls who's now starting, individual practice. He could be back in a couple weeks. So,
all right. So I'm going to close this off, and this has been Nate the Great, Ray Cruz, and Greg Hot Seat Gallo signing out for now.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. topics never the same. All presentation, sports information, hitting the airways, taking the nation. On sport, all plays, like working your faces, grace up the field, so time for laces. All sports, all plays, network. All sports, all plays, network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.